Okay, everyone, I will get started now. Obviously, some people may join in. If you are watching this from me sending it over to you, then just to let you know, if you do have any questions off the back of this, then please just give me a shout afterwards. So, hi, good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone's safe and well. Obviously, unfortunately, we're all back in our houses again, but hopefully this can give you a little bit of inspiration of where we're going to be able to go in the next couple of months when we're all out, allowed out again. We are really excited to speak to you today about our insight into river cruising. Firstly, if you don't know Panache, we are a fairly new company. However, you potentially are going to recognise our founder, James Cole, who himself has been in the industry for many years and has founded some pretty successful cruise brands himself. One of the things that we pride ourselves on here is that nothing is too much trouble. And that's something that everyone who works here has always had a mantra for. So personally, I've worked with James for nearly 5 years as a river cruise expert. And in that time, I've been lucky enough to get on board nearly 20 different cruise ships. The majority of them have been river. I spent a lot of time in Amsterdam visiting them, and luckily I have sailed on 5 or 6 different sailings around Europe. When it gets to calling us and talking to us as connoisseurs, you'll never have to wait in a call queue to get hold of us. If your own personal connoisseur isn't available, then you can call our main number and any one of our helpful, excellent team will be on hand to just help you out. We do at the moment obviously have a book with confidence message. After this presentation, I will personally send you our most up-to-date river brochure, which has all the cruise line booking with confidence messages included. Finally, as we do go through the presentation, if you do have any questions, please just use, if you move your mouse over the bottom of the screen, there's a chat function. That will come up with any questions. I can either answer them at the end or can personally come back to you on email, and I'll answer any questions that you may come up with. So if we get going, and hopefully I can just give you a little bit of an insight into what we do, into river cruising, and I can whet your appetite a little bit to see if this is going to be one of your next cruises that you go on. So river cruising as a whole, they are a lot smaller than any ocean cruise that you will go on. You are only looking at 3 decks, 4 decks if you count the top deck, which is the sun deck. And as you can see, they're pretty spacious, some quite elaborate, but the one main thing that they all do is they cruise to the heart of all the countries. So when you're on an ocean cruise, you are cruising to the ports, you are cruising around, and you have to take excursions to get to specific places. The beauty of this is that you end up within the city every day and you're minutes away from experiencing the culture, history, architecture, and even artisan techniques of the regions that you're going to be heading to. When you sail along the waterways of all the world, you'll be going through to the Mediterranean. So you can look at going from Amsterdam down to the Saône or the Rhone, which takes you out into the Mediterranean. You can be sailing towards the Black Sea, even sailing through the Nile in Egypt as well, which means you get to visit all the places that sometimes people think that they're never going to get to. Pyramids, you can go to Angkor Wat, and you can even be looking at going to Beijing if you're sailing on the Yangtze River in China. There's so many different options, and I just think this is one of the most excellent ways to do this. Most people and a lot of cruisers, and I know a lot of people who watch this will have been on many world cruises or going around the world on cruises, and they're looking for something new to do. River cruising is that perfect thing. You know, you're going to be able to get on this ship and move your way through the middle of a country rather than going on outside of it. Now, much smaller ships, like I said before, than on ocean, but it does create this warm, friendly atmosphere where you're most likely to make friends, which I'm sure you've all already done on ocean. But again, there's even more opportunity to do this on a river cruise. So just looking at the difference between river cruising and ocean, like I've already explained, ocean cruising takes you to countries, but river cruises take you through them. Land is always in sight and the scenery is always at eye level. Now, one of the main things that people sometimes are concerned about with ocean cruising is seasickness. Whether they want to be in the middle of the boat, whether they want to be at the front, the back, higher up, lower down. River cruising, it's not something that you're ever going to have to worry about. All of the vessels that you will see, they all have flat bottomed hulls. So this means that you don't get movement, and most of the time you have absolutely no idea that you're moving. It's only when you open your curtains in the morning or you're walking through the panorama lounge and you actually realise you're sailing down a river, which is a really, really lovely feeling, because you don't get off the ship and sometimes have to find your feet. With river cruising, every day you are on land. Some of the days may be filled with river cruising because, let's face it, you want to go on a river cruise for the scenery, but you also want to go for the places that you're going to be visiting. So your days will be filled with specially created land tours led by expert guides who have been living in these countries for most of their life, or have been doing this job for 5-10 years, so they know exactly what they're talking about. There's a variety of different excursions that you can do. Quite a lot of the cruise lines now have bikes on board. You'll be happy to hear that quite a lot of them are electric bikes as well. So it seems like you're doing exercise, but actually the bike's doing it for you. But it's an amazing way to see a lot of places like the Rhine, also the south of France as well. So after a day of doing your excursions, whether you decide to do exercise or just to be taken strolling through any scenery that you're around, then you can meet your new friends that you've made on the excursions by going into the panorama lounges and having a couple of drinks before dinner, sitting with them at dinner, or just having a chat and then going back and waking up in a new place the next day. So looking at life on board, this is a typical river ship. I mean, if you've ever been to somewhere like Amsterdam, you're more than likely to have seen one of these ships before. They are lined pretty much all the way along the front of Central Station in Amsterdam, and you can't really miss them. Even if you have ocean cruised into Amsterdam, you will have seen these guys lined up, okay? So looking at this particular ship, this is the Scenic Jade. They have 3 floors, and if you look at the bottom part of the ship here, this is your lower deck. Now these are classed as river view. So to explain it slightly more, which I will later in the later slide, I'll show you a picture of it. Shoulder height windows, same space as you would have in the upper grade, so the next levels up, but just no opening windows. That's the only difference. You still get natural daylight, but the windows don't open because you're you're just above the waterline there. As you can see, the front of the ship is mainly filled with either the restaurant. So here we've got Crystal Dining. You've then got Panorama Lounge Bar, and then at the top you have the Riverview Terrace. For this particular ship, you have Portobello's, which is an additional dining option. And then right at the front, that is an opening area where you can go sit right at the front of the ship, and you can watch yourself sailing down the river with completely unspoiled views of anything in front of you. One of the other things to mention is the amount of people that will be on board. Throughout the different companies that we work with 7 main companies. You're never going to have more than 165 people on board. They very rarely are at full capacity because there's a lot of single passengers on there. And one of the other great things to mention is a lot of the cruise lines have reduced single supplements, and some of them don't even hold a single supplement. So if it's something you're looking to do on your own, or if you prefer a separate cabin, then you don't have to pay any additional to do that. So talking about the food, which obviously we need to do because any cruiser knows that they love their food. This particular set of pictures is from a company called Uniworld. Uniworld are the ultra inclusive, leave your wallet at home scenario. And as you can see with these pictures here, you can see why you're going to be pretty happy. They do a la carte, they do buffet, they have breakfast stations, you know, pretty much the world is your oyster when it comes to food. One of the other really fantastic things about river cruising and the fact that they stop every day is that new fresh product is brought on and off the ship. So anything you eat on board will have been brought on that day most likely. And the fact that you're moving sometimes through separate countries means that you are basically going to be able to taste the different foods of the different cultures that you're moving through. So that's one of the very, very good reasons for river cruising, not just Uniworld with their food. Every cruise line that I've been on, I've been on every cruise line that we associate ourselves with, and I can tell you I have never ever been disappointed with food, and I do enjoy a good meal. Okay, now again, life on board, this is kind of looking at splitting up the ship in a different way. I understand that this is a slightly smaller picture of the deck plan, but I just wanted to give you an idea of what this looks like. Now, this particular ship is called the Amma Magna, and it is one of two extra wide river ships. Usually the ships are around about half the width of this, but Amma Waterways and Crystal River Cruises have come out with these particular ships. They only sail on the Danube because of the width, and you have a lot of people who want to sail the Danube, but they want to have a slightly bigger experience. They want a little bit more room on the ship, and the suites are also bigger on board. Not hugely, but they are that little bit bigger. So from this deck plan, you can see that mostly the two decks here are filled with your French balcony or Juliet balcony cabins, and the bottom deck, this is where your river view cabins are. So you can see there actually aren't that many. This particular picture here is from one of the Uniworld ships. So you can see, even though you have river ships, they look a little bit smaller than the oceans, you're still going to have the opportunity to have a swimming pool. You're still going to have the opportunity to be outside, and a lot of the other cruise lines have jacuzzis, sort of splash pools on top deck, etc. as well. So there's lots of opportunity to do the same things you would in river cruising than you do in ocean cruising as well. It's just in a slightly smaller scale. I'm just having a look at the chat. I think Natalie is answering them. Okay, perfect. So let's continue. So stateroom wise, this is where I wanted to go a little bit more into what the staterooms look like. The Riverview stateroom, as you can see here, this is what I mean by the shoulder height window. The stateroom size is still a very, very good square footage. You have your bathroom, your shower, your bedside table, queen size. These can also be split into twin as well. And then you have your picture window here. Now, I am approximately, well, just under 6 foot tall, and my shoulder comes above the window. So you have quite a good view, but you will be just above the waterline. So a lot of people who sail on the river cruises, if they've been on a lot of river cruises, they sometimes opt for the lower grade cabins because they spend a lot of their time out on excursions, and they use it just to get changed, and are quite happy to be in the lounge all the time, mingling with other customers. Now, if we look at this one here, this is a French balcony cabin. Now, this is a cabin from a scenic river ship. Scenic, again, just like I spoke about with Uniworld, is a leave your wallet at home scenario. It is one of the top cruise lines that we work with for river cruising. This is what we call a French balcony. So this is not a walkout balcony. However, you can see here a line that moves across the window. This has a function where you can press a button around the corner here, and the top part of this window will drop down, and it will create the illusion, as if you're on an ocean ship, that you have a balcony. With Scenic as well, you can also pull a glass barrier behind you. So if the person you're traveling with doesn't want to be sat outside and doesn't want the window open, you can pull the glass barrier across and you can create your own balcony, even though you're actually still inside your room. There are other companies that do offer a balcony. So as you can see here, this is one of the Waterways ships. Here you can see that the balcony is an outside balcony, and it has the typical windows that you would find when on an ocean ship. Now, the only thing I would say when looking at a balcony is that you look at the space. You'll need to go for a slightly higher grade to make sure that you don't impinge on the space that you have within your cabin, because a river ship can only be so wide because of the docks that it goes through. And this, going back to when I was talking about the Our Magna and the Crystal Mozart, they can only sail on the Danube because the width, that's the only locks that they can get through. So just remember, when you're looking at a balcony, you will have a little bit less space within the cabin because of the outside balcony setup. I personally, from the experiences I've had being in a lot of the different cruise lines, having a French balcony drop down, I think is perfect. You have the seat set up, you have, you know, a small table, having the balcony, whether it either be a French door that opens to the side or one that drops down, it's a perfect way to get fresh air into your cabin. And it does feel just like you are on a balcony, like you would do on an ocean ship. Now, when you get up to the suites, this again is one of the Scenic cabins. Now, this is one of the suites. So here you have a completely separate dining room. And if you look here, and you'll see on the deck plan, this is a completely cut off separate balcony. So if you want to actually sit outside, you can do. If you don't, then you have the drop down scenario just here behind where they're sitting. That window will drop down as well. There aren't very many suites because, as before, you sort of get the idea that ships can only be so wide. There's only so much space on board, so there are minimal suites available, but the quality that you receive within them, and to be fair, within any grade on the river cruise lines that we associate with, will be absolutely exceptional. So you would never have to worry about service. It just depends whether your preference is different amounts of space and what you're used to when sailing on an ocean ship. Excursions. Now, I like river a lot because all of the cruise lines that we work with, their excursions are included. You don't have to worry about whether, you know, you will have to pay for one excursion in one place or you're going to have to find your way around another. It doesn't work like that. There is something for everyone. Like I said before, as you can see in the picture, you can take a bike out and you can use that. You don't have to pay for it. You can go on an excursion. You can be taken to Belvedere Palace in Vienna. You're taken to Angkor Wat if you're sailing the Mekong. Taken to the vineyards if you're sailing the Rhone. There is something for everyone. Wine tasting on the Douro, absolutely exceptional. The Douro is probably one of the most popular sailings that we have, and the ships are actually a lot smaller than normal river ships because the Douro itself as a river is very small, in a sense that its width and the way that the river winds, the ships have to be smaller, otherwise they won't be able to get around the bends. And they're only allowed a certain amount of river ships on the Douro because there's just not enough space, which is why it's one of the most popular ones, because everyone wants to go on it because it's just that little bit different. All of these tour groups are very intimate sort of sizes. I've never been on a tour group bigger than, I would say, 25 people. They will split you up into 3 or 4 groups. and you'll be taken by one of 4 or 5 guides who have been doing their job for probably 15, 20 years from the ones that I've experienced. The smallest group that I've ever been with was with UniWorld when I got to go to Monet's Garden. I was in a group of 5 people and there were about 10 groups. So you can see that they really do value the intimate experience with the guides and the guests. Guest to staff ratio, again, on the ship is the same thing. They want you to experience the quality that you've paid for, and you really, really do receive it with the cruise lines that we work with. Like I said, there's an excursion in every port. Some cruise lines offer additional extra excursions that you do have to pay a slight supplement for, but that could be that you're going to a Michelin star restaurant, or you want to take their private boat that they have on the back of the ship down some of the waterways that you wouldn't be able to usually go down. But that's something that we will be able to tell you about that is available for any of the river cruise lines that you look at. So service, like I said, even with the excursions, it's replicated on board the ships. As it is a smaller ship, you do tend to find that the staff to guest ratio is of a very good value. I mean, the service is really 6-star. Our lead-in category of river cruising is with Riviera Travel, and I would class that easily as 5-star plus. And that was the first river cruise line I ever went on, and I thought that it was just mind-blowingly amazing. That the experience that I had was incredible, and I didn't think it really could get any better. It can, because the further up the levels you go of the cruise lines that you choose, the service does get better and better. Some of these cruise lines only use staff that have been trained where the butlers at Buckingham Palace get trained. You know, it's absolutely incredible. I would say a really good comparison that I can use is when I went on Crystal Mozart. I've been on a Crystal Ocean cruise before, and you have the same scenario of that each person who works on board, each member of staff that works on board only has one job. So your sommelier is your sommelier, your butler is your butler, and you won't see them doing any other job. Anyone who works behind the bar you won't see them doing anything else. And this makes them exceptional at what they do, and it makes your experience even more exceptional because they get to know you within hours. They know your favorite drink. They know the way you like your bed turned down. They know what channel your TV could be on when you walk in the room, whether you prefer the sparkling or still water. In some suites, you can choose the spirit that is your favorite to be in your bar. It really, really does go above and beyond. And this is what I found with Crystal is the experience I'd had on board the ocean ship was completely replicated to what I found on the ocean. There was no difference except the fact the ship was smaller and we were inland rather than on ocean. So I really hope that that kind of gives you confidence that just because you're not on an ocean ship, that you're not going to get the same experience as if you were when you go on a river. A lot of the ships that we offer do offer butler service. You don't have to take it if you don't want to, but they are there and they are 100% happy to help. So I've been talking about our preferred partners, and these are the ones that we work with. There are other cruise lines that we do work with because some do go to only specific destinations. However, these are the ones that we would look at first. So looking at Riviera, this is what I would say is our 5-star product and is one of the cruise lines that I think is a great opportunity to try a river cruise if you've never done one before. They offer some 4 to 7 day itineraries, which means if you're not so sure, then you can maybe test them out, maybe go on a Christmas markets sailing. One of the ones that I did is that I went to Vienna and Budapest Christmas markets, which was exceptional. You get to experience both of these Christmas markets within days of each other, whereas usually you would have to do a city tour, a city break per one in maybe 2 different years. With this, you get to do it all in one go. Riviera Travel include their excursions. They don't include their drinks. However, you can buy drinks packages, which means that you'll receive drinks with your meals. Emerald Waterways, then we go up another notch. All the excursions are included and you get multiple choices of excursions. Your drinks are included with your meals, and also at the moment they do have offers to extend that to a premium drinks package, which means your drinks are available to you at all times with no extra cost. Avalon Waterways, again, all excursions included. You have drinks with meals, and any additional drinks then you will just pay at the end, and they're very, very reasonable prices. Most of them are either in euros or dollars, and you'd expect, you know, house glass of wine maybe around about €4, so it's nothing that's going to break the bank. Amma Waterways, again, is the same as Avalon. Drinks, meal times. They have a sip and sail hour before dinner, which is where the bar is basically open to anyone for an hour before dinner, so you can get to sit down, speak to some of the people you met during the day, and, you know, have a cocktail or two, and then go down for dinner, and you will have, again, your drinks included with your meals. The next 3, everything is included from the moment you step on the ship to the moment you depart. I would find it very rare that you would ever have any bill to settle coming off of these. One of the things that people ask is about gratuities. Riviera Travel and Avalon Waterways and Amma, they have their they don't have their gratuities included. However, they're not mandatory. What they will do is to keep it, you know, some people don't want to, you know, hand maybe some money to the butler that has been within their cabin for the time of the sailing. They give you an envelope at the end of the sailing, and if you want to, they will put sort of like a post box in the main reception area, and you can put in, and then it will be spread out between everyone on the ship. Or if you want to personally tip anyone that has, you know, really given you a fantastic experience, that's what you can do as well. But it's very rare that you're ever going to have to spend any more money than what you pay when you first book. Okay. Finally, looking at also where you can go. Now, this is a bit of a squashed in map, but I wanted to show you just the vast amount of places that you can go in the world on a river cruise. You know, the world, you can explore it through a river, not just necessarily by the oceans. Looking into Europe, like I said, one of the main ones going through Portugal is the Douro. You have the Dordogne or the Garonne, the Saône, you have the Seine, you've got the Rhine, Main, Moselle, Danube, you have the River Po in Italy, when you can have excursions with Milan added on. Moving across the slightly more exotic side, you can go on the Yangtze, you've got the Mekong, you have the Ganges, you have the Nile, and of course you've got the Volga as well, which runs from St. Petersburg to Moscow. Down the side are some of the more popular of our itineraries that we look at. If I were to give advice, if you've never been on a river cruise before and you were trying to pick an area to go to try it out, just to see what you think, I would definitely go with the Rhine or the Danube. They are closer to home. They're easier to get to via air or rail, and the scenery is spectacular. The Rhine is like floating through a fairy tale. Every twist and turn of the river is exceptional. The towns, the cities that you stop at, there's always something that you never thought you were going to see. And it's just magical to be sat on the top deck with a drink, and you turn a corner on one of the rivers and there's a castle in the middle of the side of the mountain that's next to you. You can't really describe it until you've been on board and really experienced that magical feeling. The Danube, for the cities, the architecture, the history, is again exceptional. And if I were to give someone the advice, like I said, these would be the top two that I would go for first. The Rhone offers the chance to sail down the winelands, which is obviously a very nice itinerary to do. Again, the Douro does the same thing as well. All of these, I would say are fantastic to do. It would be completely up to you what you prefer, whether there's some certain countries you'd like to go to. Another popular one at the moment is sailing from the Danube to the Black Sea, sort of going through Serbia, that kind of area, which are really, really popular. But I just wanted to show you the vast majority, like the vast choice that you have if you did want to go on a river cruise. Now, one of the big things, I imagine there's probably been some questions about it. I know I get questions about it on a daily basis, speaking to customers, is the book with confidence messages and what the river cruise lines are doing in this period of time that we're living in at the moment. Now, all of the, at the moment, the FCO, they are allowed, that they have already given the green light to river cruises, and river cruises have been happening throughout Europe. They do take the safety of the guests and the crew very, very seriously, and they have mandatory testing before boarding the ships for both crew and customers. They're sailing with reduced capacities to make sure that social distancing is easier where it's necessary, enhanced cleaning in public places and in guest accommodation, reduced pool and jacuzzi, gym capacities. You know, they're making sure that you will experience, that you should get the experience you would want to when we were sailing in normal times. They want you to have the same experience when you're sailing now as well. They have reduced buffets so that you're getting served individually, so there's no sort of cross-contamination, that people are still social distancing, and that they can really keep a good eye on everything that's happening. They have temperature screening when boarding, and they also have upgraded their aircon to air purification systems. You couldn't really get any safer from being on board, because they have so many protocols put in place. That means that you're looked after from beginning to end. We do have at the moment, I don't know whether any of you have downloaded it or not. Again, I can send this to you, an updated brochure of what we call Cruising the Truth, and this gives you, like I said at the beginning, we have all the cruise of confidence messages for the cruise lines. This gives you everything you need to know about all the cruise lines. We want you to be fully informed before you make a decision about going on a sailing, and this is the best way to do it, to have a look through this brochure. If you want one, please let me know. Like that's one. I'm going to send specifically the river one, but if you'd like one for overall cruising, then absolutely we can do that, or you can go onto our website and download it yourself if you want to. Again, one of the other questions is about safety of money. We have, right, for complete peace of mind, we're members of Travel Trust Association, which has over 600 travel agents and tour operating members, and it provides us with a trust account where all customer money are paid into until they're required to pay for the cruise holiday. So in the unlikely event of our insolvency, any monies paid will be refunded in full. We are an ATOL bonded travel company, which means in the unlikely event, again, of insolvency, you will continue to enjoy your cruise holiday. And also, if you have already departed and something goes wrong, you have the option to be fully refunded if you have yet to travel. ATOL protection also extends to the collapse of any airlines, and all the cruise lines that we work with are ABTA and ATOL protected as well. Finally, we only do partner with cruise lines that are ABTA and ATOL protected, which is why you see particular ones that we endorse or we are endorsed by, because we want to make sure that you are safe as customers from a personal point of view and from your money. Now that is a generalized overview of river cruising. There is so much more to say about it. There's so much that I can talk to you about, and I'm lucky enough to have experienced a number of these itineraries. A lot of the people that we work here, the connoisseurs that work here, I would say we have probably been on 90% of the cruises that you could have gone on when it comes to all of the different rivers around the world, and if not, we have most likely been to that destination. So if you do have any questions about that, feel free to call me, feel free to email me, feel free to just call us as a company, and we will be more than happy to talk you through anything, non-obligation. One of the final things that I wanted to say is that we really appreciate that you take your time to come and listen to us, and to the end of January, which is another 20 days. If you do want to go ahead and have a look at a river cruise or book a river cruise, we're offering a 7% discount on all sailings that you look at. So if you do have any particular ones that you'd like to look at, then please do let us know. But anything else that you need to know, then please just let us, just give us a call. It's been a real pleasure being able to talk to you guys about this. I really hope I've given you a little bit of inspiration, and I would be really, really happy to take your call at any point. So thank you very much.